Today, we are going to be doing a full examination of the life and work of the actor, the filmmaker, and even musician, Bill Paxton, based on the materials you've shared with us.
That's right. Our goal here is really to pull out the key insights from this material. We're going to trace the whole arc of his career, which was incredibly versatile, and we'll also, with a lot of gravity and respect, look at the very specific and tragic circumstances around his passing in 2017.
Absolutely. And when you look at the body of his work, what just jumps out at you is the range. Bill Paxton was, he was that quintessential Hollywood everyman. Instantly recognizable. He had that distinctive Texas drawl, but he could play anything. He could be the hero, the conniving villain, or these really, really conflicted dramatic leads.
Exactly. And that versatility, it wasn't just, tolerated by the industry, it was rewarded. William Paxton, born May 17th, 1955, he got some significant recognition over his career.
He did.
We're talking 3 Golden Globe nominations for his television work, a Primetime Emmy nomination. It's a career that really, it demands a closer look. It covers everything from these key historical moments in his childhood right up through this huge filmography and then, the very complex and emotional legal story that came after his death.
So to make sure we give his legacy the proper attention, we've organized all this information into a few thematic sections. We're going to start right at the very beginning with the foundation he built back in Texas that really launched him.
A great place to start.
Okay, so let's unpack those beginnings. Paxton's early life in Fort Worth, Texas. It sets a foundation that is, well, surprisingly dramatic, long before he ever stepped onto a professional film set.
Yeah, he came from a family that was really deeply rooted in Texas and, American history. His mother, Mary Lou, raised him Catholic. And his father, John Lane Paxton, he was very active in Fort Worth society. He was a businessman, a lumber wholesaler, but he also served as a museum executive.
And what's really interesting there is that his father kept a connection to the acting world, even much later in his life. It must have been fascinating for Bill to see. John Lane Paxton became an occasional actor, during his son's career. He most notably appeared in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films as Bernard Houseman.
Oh, right. The butler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in this really lovely twist, he got to appear alongside Bill in the acclaimed 1998 film, A Simple Plan.
It seems like show business, or at least some form of public life, it really ran in the bloodline in different ways. If you trace the family history back, he was the great-great-grandson of Elisha Franklin Paxton.
And he was a general?
A Confederate brigadier general, yes. He was tragically killed commanding the Stonewall Brigade at the Battle of Chancellorsville back in 1863 during the Civil War.
And that lineage, it seems to extend to other areas of American public life, too. He was a distant relative of the actress Sarah Paxton.
Wow.
And his great-aunt, Mary Paxton Keeley, she was a prominent journalist and a very close friend of Bess Truman. It just paints this picture of a family that was always kind of connected to important moments and people in American history.
And, well, no moment is more important or really more astonishing than his own direct connection to history when he was just 8 years old. I'm talking about the JFK connection.
Wait, okay, before we move on, I saw this detail about President Kennedy. That's just astonishing. He was only 8, right?
That's right. On the morning of November 22nd, 1963, in Fort Worth, President Kennedy was leaving the Hotel Texas just before that drive to Dallas, and Bill Paxton was in the crowd that morning.
I just can't imagine. That's an unforgettable moment for anyone, let alone an 8-year-old. Can you picture the chaos and the excitement of being there?
The sources confirm it. There are actual photographs that show young Paxton being lifted up above the crowd just to get a glimpse of the president. And these aren't just, family photos in an album. These specific photographs are now on public display at the 6th Floor Museum at Dealey Plaza in Dallas. It's this powerful testament to just how close he was to that pivotal moment in history.
And it clearly stayed with him. I mean, it had to. Decades later, he co-produced the 2013 film Parkland.
Right, which is all about the immediate aftermath of the assassination.
It really suggests a powerful, a lifelong engagement with that single historical day.
After he graduated from Arlington Heights High School in 1973, his path immediately took a turn towards creativity and travel. He went to study at Richmond College in London, and he continued this trend of collaborating with his high school friends, Danny Martin, and another Texas native, Tom Huckabee.
And they were really serious about filmmaking, even without any formal training. The sources show that while they were in London, they were just constantly busy making these Super 8 short films together, even building their own sets from scratch. So his original ambition was clearly behind the camera.
That's the key pivot right there. His initial plan was directing. But after he moved to Southern California, he faced rejection from the local film schools.
And that rejection seems to be the catalyst, right? The thing that drove him to switch his focus entirely from directing over to acting.
Exactly. It's a classic Hollywood story. Rejection leads to a whole new path. And before he found any success on screen, he held down some very specific industry jobs.
Right, like I saw he worked in film props and in art departments.
Yep. And in classic LA fashion, he spent time as a parking valet at the Beverly Hills Hotel before he finally got his professional acting break.
So when we look at that early trajectory, it's fascinating how quickly he found his niche. He really started defining himself in the action and sci-fi genres of the 80s and 90s.
He did. He specialized in these intense but still very recognizable supporting roles. He had this dynamic range that let him shift from, a lovable goof to a terrifying menace, sometimes in the space of just a year.
That versatility is something we really need to spend some time on. Let's track those defining roles, starting around 1981.
Well, you see him just pop up in the most unexpected places. Early on, you've got an uncredited role as John in Crazy Mama in 1975, and then as Soldier Number 8 in Stripes in 1981.
The famous bar scene with John Candy and Bill Murray.
That's the one. And then you get slightly bigger parts, like the mortuary assistant Paul Andrews in Mortuary in 1983.
He also started his relationship with Arnold Schwarzenegger very early on. He appeared as the punk named Johnny in The Terminator in 84. It's a minor role, but it's the start of something really big for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that same year, he was Clyde the bartender in Streets of Fire.
And then in 1985, he was Intercept Officer Number 1 in Commando, again with Schwarzenegger. But the real proof of his range comes when you contrast his two major supporting roles from the mid-'80s.
You have to be talking about Chet Donnelly and Severin.
Exactly.
So first, Chet Donnelly. The absolutely memorable bullying older brother of Gary in John Hughes's teen comedy Weird Science from 1985.
Chet is just. It's comedic villainy perfected. He's a caricature of an authority figure, constantly trying to foil the heroes. His performance is hilarious. It's completely over the top, and it's defined by this certain goofy charm, even when he's threatening to turn Gary into a pizza parlor wet spot.
And then the jarring contrast comes just 2 years later in Kathryn Bigelow's critically acclaimed neo-Western horror film, Near Dark.
In Near Dark, he shifts completely. He delivered this genuinely chilling performance as Severin, who is, arguably the most psychotic and memorable of that nomadic vampire clan.
It's just hard to believe that the same actor who played the goofball Chet was capable of the kind of sadistic intensity we see in Severin.
Right, and that ability to embody two such diametrically opposed types of villainy within just 2 years, that is central to understanding his appeal and his depth as an actor.
That's a fantastic point. He wasn't typecast at all. He was a chameleon. Yeah. But, no discussion of his action career is complete without centering on his legendary and incredibly deep professional connection with the director James Cameron. This partnership is just central to his action and sci-fi legacy.
It is the defining professional relationship of his entire career. Paxton was a very close collaborator of James Cameron across 3 decades, starting with that minor role in The Terminator.
And their second collaboration produced the performance that just solidified his place in pop culture history forever. Private William Hudson in Aliens.
Game over, man. Game over.
Exactly.
Hudson is just this iconic portrayal of a man under extreme duress. He starts out all boastful, the ultimate badass, and then he just rapidly descends into psychological terror. And that famous line, which was unscripted, is now a staple of cinema history. That performance just perfectly captured the fear and the desperation of the human characters who are facing this overwhelming alien threat.
And the industry recognized it immediately, too. That iconic role earned him the Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor in 1987. It confirmed that even in a huge ensemble action film, his work just stood out.
And the partnership continued very strongly into the 90s. In the action comedy True Lies in 94, he played Simon.
The sleazy, charming, used car salesman pretending to be a spy.
Yes, a fantastic comedic foil for Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. So funny.
And of course, their collaboration really culminated in 1997 with Titanic. Paxton played Brock Lovett, the modern-day narrator and treasure hunter whose search for the heart of the ocean diamond frames the entire story.
By taking on that role, he was a key part of what was, at the time, the highest-grossing film of all time.
The 1990s really marked his peak in terms of these high-profile blockbusters and also serious dramatic leads. He started the decade with genre roles like Detective Jerry Lambert in Predator 2.
And the action film Navy SEALs in 1990 alongside Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn.
Right. And his ability to just project competence and authenticity made him perfect for historical and action films. I mean, think of him as Fred Hayes in the incredibly successful Ron Howard film Apollo 13.
Yes, 1995, he brought such dignity and reality to that ensemble historical drama.
He was just everywhere that decade. Morgan Earp in The Western Tombstone in 93, and then starring as Dr. Bill Harding, the lead scientist in Storm Chaser, in the 1996 blockbuster Twister.
And the sources confirm that Twister was a huge commercial hit. His role as that obsessed scientist leading the charge against nature, it just cemented his image as this rugged but also intelligent action hero.
But he was very careful, it seems, not to let that blockbuster success define him completely.
Yeah.
He was actively seeking out darker, character-driven dramas.
He was. The film One False Move from 1992, where he played Sheriff Dale Hurricane Dixon, is often cited by critics as a real hidden gem of early 90s independent cinema.
Praised for its tight script and his really grounded performance.
Exactly. And arguably his most acclaimed dramatic film role was as Hank Mitchell in Sam Raimi's neo-noir A Simple Plan in 1998.
His portrayal of Hank Mitchell, this man who finds a large sum of money and then just spirals into this profound moral compromise and desperation, it was masterful.
That film really showcased his ability to carry the emotional weight of a dark thriller. It earned him significant critical praise. It's also where he got to share screen time with his father, John Lane Paxton.
Which must have been a really satisfying full-circle moment for him.
For sure. And rounding out that incredible period, we have Professor Gregory O'Hara in Mighty Joe Young, the war film U-571 in 2000, and the mountain survival thriller Vertical Limit, also in 2000.
Where he played the lead villain, Elliot Vaughn, proving that even after 20 years, he could still convincingly play the bad guy.
Even as his career moved into the 2000s, he kept that balance. Comedic roles like Coconut Pete and Broken Lizard's Club Dread in 2004.
Right.
And supporting roles in major sci-fi productions like the 2014 hit Edge of Tomorrow as Master Sergeant Farrell, and the unnerving dark thriller Nightcrawler as competing freelancer Joe Lauder.
It's just so clear looking at this whole trajectory that he wasn't just taking jobs, he was actively choosing roles that demanded he stretch his boundaries. Which is, I mean, that's the definition of great character actor.
Yeah. So we know that his original ambition, before the whole acting career exploded, was to be a director.
Right.
And the 2000s saw him successfully transition to exercising that ambition behind the camera, while at the same time building this incredible television career that brought him serious awards recognition.
That return to directing was creatively defining for him, and it paid off immediately. In 2001, he directed and starred in the horror film Frailty.
Frailty is a remarkable achievement, especially for a directorial debut. He played Dad Mikes, a man who believes he's been instructed by God to destroy demons disguised as human beings.
And the critics, they universally praised the film. It was lauded for its strong atmosphere, its psychological depth, and just the way it successfully blended religious fanaticism with genuine horror.
Crucially, the sources point out it was a low-budget film that earned a huge critical payoff. It proved his skill behind the camera wasn't just, a vanity project. He earned Saturn Award nominations for both Best Director and Best Horror Film.
That debut success then paved the way for his second feature film, the historical sports drama, The Greatest Game Ever Played in 2005.
And it's important to understand this directing ambition. It wasn't new. It stemmed directly from those Super 8 days back in London. Long before his feature films, he was directing music videos.
Including the now famous novelty song Fish Heads by Barnes & Barnes in 1980.
Right. And the sources highlight the historical context of that video. It aired during Saturday Night Live's low-rated 1980-81 season, and then it found a second life with heavy rotation during the early days of the Canadian music channel Much Music.
Which demonstrates his innate ability to tap into pop culture, even in those very early years.
And his professional partnership with James Cameron also extended beyond just acting into these other ventures. 4 years after Titanic, Paxton joined Cameron on a real-life deep-sea expedition to the actual wreck of the ship.
That must have been just an incredible experience. This wasn't a narrative film. This was a documentary called Ghosts of the Abyss, released in 2003.
Yeah.
And he served as himself and as the narrator.
It truly shows his commitment to the collaborative process. He wasn't just an actor for hire. He was an adventurer and a creative partner, willing to commit to projects outside the standard Hollywood framework, even if it involved deep-sea exploration.
And while he was directing and exploring the Titanic wreck, His move into prestige television brought him his highest-profile awards recognition.
Oh, without a doubt. His lead role in the HBO drama series Big Love from 2006 to 2011 as Bill Henriksen, the patriarch of a modern-day polygamous family, was career-defining in a totally different way.
It really was. It put that everyman persona under this immense specific pressure. Playing a man navigating these complex domestic, legal, and spiritual challenges really allowed him to flex his dramatic muscles in a way that blockbusters sometimes just don't allow for.
And that performance earned him 3 Golden Globe nominations for Best Actor in a Television Series Drama during the show's run.
It's interesting to note that this wasn't his first experience with prestigious HBO dramas either. Earlier in his career, he got a Golden Globe nomination for starring as John Paul Van in the 1998 HBO war drama, A Bright Shining Lie,
which was based on the true story of Van's very controversial experience during the Vietnam War.
And his prestige run continued strongly in 2012 with the History Channel miniseries Hatfields and McCoys.
That historical series was a major critical success. Paxton played Randolph McCoy opposite Kevin Costner's Devil Anse Hatfield, portraying one half of one of America's most famous feuds.
And his performance there earned him nominations for both an Emmy Award and a Screen Actors Guild Award.
As he moved into the final years of his career, he still found time to tackle genre and crime roles that appealed to these massive audiences. In 2014, he played the villainous John Garrett in 6 episodes of Agents of SHIELD.
Right, successfully immersing himself in the sprawling Marvel universe.
He also continued with major historical productions, starring as General Sam Houston in the 2015 miniseries Texas Rising. His final television role was as Detective Frank Work in the crime thriller series Training Day, which premiered in February 2017, just weeks before his death.
And his final film appearance, which was released posthumously in April 2017, was in The Circle, where he played Vinnie Holland alongside Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. It's just a stunning body of work that shows he was active and thriving right up until the very end.
So if we connect all these creative facets, the directing, the acting, the intense collaboration, we absolutely have to discuss his venture into music. It just further proves his creative energy wasn't limited to the visual realm.
This is a lesser-known but really fascinating chapter. The new wave band, Martini Ranch, he co-founded it in 1982 with his friend Andrew Todd Rosenthal.
Martini Ranch released their only full-length album, Holy Cow, in 1988 on Sire Records. And the connections here are pure 80s new wave gold. The album was produced by Devo member Bob Casale.
No way.
Yes, and it featured guest appearances by 2 other members of Devo. It really solidified its place within that whole alternative scene.
And the connection to his film life is clear, yet again. The music video for the band's single Reach was directed by his longtime creative partner, James Cameron.
That just speaks volumes about the depth of their friendship, doesn't it? Not only would Cameron cast him in these massive blockbusters, but he would also take the time to direct a music video for his passion project band.
It confirms a genuine, lifelong artistic support system between them.
For sure. And his musical appearances weren't limited to his own band's videos either. He had a notable early appearance in the video for Pat Benatar's 1982 song Shadows of the Night,
where he appeared as a Nazi radio officer?
And then much later, in 2003, he appeared as a sheriff in that controversial Limp Bizkit music video, Eat You Alive.
And his career crossed into every corner of the pop culture landscape. We see him lend his voice to the video game world, which is, a massive industry.
Specifically, he voiced the character Khan in the downloadable Exo Zombies mode of Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare in 2015.
For those who might be less familiar with the gaming world, the Exo Zombies mode was an expansion pack that was immensely popular. It just shows that his cultural footprint extended far beyond cinema, reaching this huge global audience of first-person shooters.
And of course, thanks to Twister, he co-hosted the pre-show for the Twister, Write It Out theme park attraction at Universal Studios, which opened back in 1998.
So he brought his character Bill Harding directly to millions of theme park visitors over the years, further cementing that role in the public consciousness.
It's just clear that whether it was a small Super 8 film, a horror feature, a prestige TV drama, or an amusement park ride, he embraced every creative opportunity fully.
We now need to turn to a section that requires very careful and sensitive handling as we address the circumstances of his passing. We have to adhere strictly and impartially to the facts reported in the sources regarding his health, the procedure, and the subsequent legal action.
We can start with his personal life. He had a brief first marriage to Kelly Rowan, which lasted from 1979 to 1980.
He then met his second wife, Louise Newbury, while he was studying in London. The sources mention he met her quite romantically, actually on a bus in Twickenham while she was a student.
They married in 1987 and established their home in Ojai, California. They had 2 children, including their son James, who has since followed in his father's footsteps as an actor.
The events that led to his passing began with a pre-existing medical condition that he had spoken about publicly. In an interview given in early 2017, Paxton revealed that he had a damaged aortic heart valve.
And the sources confirm this was the result of rheumatic fever, which he had contracted when he was a child. So this long-standing condition created complications. And the sources also detail that he developed an aortic aneurysm that required immediate surgical attention.
This required a major and a necessary medical intervention. On February 14, 2017, he underwent open-heart surgery at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles.
So specifically, he underwent what is known as the Bentall procedure. This is a highly complex open-heart surgery designed to treat combined disease of the aortic valve and the ascending aorta, which is the large blood vessel that exits the heart.
So the procedure involves replacing the diseased aortic valve, the aortic root, and the ascending aorta.
Correct. It was a very serious procedure for a serious long-term issue. And tragically, 11 days later, on February 25th, 2017, he died. He was 61 years old.
The cause of death was officially reported as a stroke, which was a complication that followed the surgery. It was just a profound and sudden shock to his family, his friends, and the entire global filmmaking community.
We really have to pause here and just recognize the sheer scale of the loss his family experienced. To lose a husband and a father, this beloved figure, so suddenly after a serious but seemingly necessary procedure, it's just truly heartbreaking.
Following his cremation, his ashes were interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park of Hollywood Hills. However, the story didn't end there, as the circumstances of his death prompted a legal response from his estate.
Yes. In 2018, Paxton's estate filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and the surgeon who performed the operation, Dr. Ali Koinashad. And we must report the facts of this legal action entirely impartially, as they're detailed in the sources.
The sources indicate that the lawsuit alleged medical negligence, focusing on the quality of the care he received. Dr. Koinashad, according to the source material, maintained that he was comfortable with his actions and denied any wrongdoing in the procedure.
However, the hospital itself, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, made the decision to settle the lawsuit. The sources specified that the hospital cited reasons related to publicity for their decision to settle the matter.
It's important to understand that context, that the resolution of the suit was reached out of court, and it reflects the sensitivity and the high profile of the case.
This was a deeply complex legal and medical situation, and we just acknowledge the tragic circumstances and the loss experienced by his family while maintaining our focus on the factual reporting of the legal action as it's detailed in the source materials provided to us.
This raises an important question. How did his peers and his collaborators honor a career and a personality defined by such remarkable enthusiasm and dedication? The public and private tributes that followed his death really speak volumes about his personal and professional impact.
The outpouring of grief and respect was immediate, and it spanned generations of actors and directors. The day after his passing, on February 26, 2017, at the 89th Academy Awards, a visibly emotional Jennifer Aniston paid tribute to him while she was introducing the annual In Memoriam segment.
That moment just underscores how quickly and how deeply his loss was felt by the industry at its absolute highest level. But it was his co-stars who perhaps offered the most revealing insights into his character.
That's right. Chloe Sevigny, his co-star from Big Love, provided a powerful quote. She remembered him as one of the less cynical, jaded people she'd ever met in the business.
That lack of cynicism is so refreshing in Hollywood, isn't it? She specifically praised his belief in the inherent value of entertainment, noting that he believed it was transportive and transformative.
She even said that belief was a genuine gift that he gave to her during their time working together.
The tributes also celebrated his most iconic roles. In a particularly moving homage to his role as storm chaser Bill Harding in Twister, actual storm chasers used the spotter network.
Which is a tool used for tracking weather events.
Right, and they used it to spell out his initials, BP, across the map.
That is such a unique and fitting way to honor that specific contribution to film history. And on television, the series where he played the villainous John Garrett, Agents of SHIELD, dedicated the end of its Season 4 episode What If to his memory.
The film dedication trend also confirmed how deep his personal connections ran in Hollywood. The sources reveal that the highly acclaimed 2017 film Call Me By Your Name was dedicated to him.
And the reason for that dedication is rooted in a close friendship. The film's producer, Peter Spears, explained that his husband, Brian Swardstrom, was Paxton's best friend and agent.
So because they had visited the set in Italy, the director chose to dedicate the film in loving memory of Bill Paxton.
Furthermore, the family legacy continued to inspire tributes. The 2019 John Travolta film The Fanatic, which co-starred his son, James Paxton, was also dedicated to his memory.
And James Paxton provided another tribute when he later played a younger version of his father's Shield character in the show's final season, connecting generations of their acting work.
And finally, his most important collaborator, James Cameron, shared an incredibly heartfelt tribute in Vanity Fair.
He detailed their 36-year friendship, recalling their early days, and expressing just this profound regret over the projects they would never be able to make together.
And that regret turned into a permanent tribute when Cameron's epic 2022 film, Avatar, The Way of Water, was dedicated to the memory of Paxton, as well as to the composer James Horner.
The sources confirmed that Cameron had sincerely hoped to cast Paxton in the Avatar sequels before his passing. This collective outpouring just confirms his status not just as a technically gifted, versatile actor, but as a genuinely beloved creative dynamo within the industry who left an undeniable mark on everyone he worked with.
So, we have completed a comprehensive examination of Bill Paxton's life and career. We've cataloged his entire journey, covering everything from his early dramatic experience being lifted above the crowd for JFK in 1963.
To his status as a musician in Martini Ranch, to his directing acclaim with Frailty, and his award nominations for Big Love and Hatfields and McCoys.
The key insights really confirm that his defining characteristic was his relentless versatility and his status as an indispensable, trusted collaborator. Whether it was the decades-long partnership with James Cameron on multiple blockbusters and documentary expeditions, or earning critical recognition opposite co-stars like Kevin Costner, he was the actor you wanted on set.
He achieved that unique blend of acting intensity and directing ability, all while maintaining that distinct quiet strength and that everyman screen persona across so many genres.
We've established that Paxton started his career aiming to direct, and he achieved significant critical acclaim later in life behind the camera with Frailty. Given his tremendous versatility and his palpable creative energy,
which we saw with his early Super 8 work, his band Martini Ranch, and his producing credit on the historical drama Parkland. Here's a final thought for you to consider.
we saw that he was committed to storytelling, especially stories with real psychological depth and historical resonance. If his life and his career had extended another decade, what further passion projects or large-scale directorial efforts might he have pursued?
What types of unique stories blending his Texas roots and his affinity for genre would have emerged from the director's chair? Think about the depth of original narratives he clearly wanted to share with the world.
Thanks for listening.